Welcome to Dynamic Resume Workshop. I like to start off this workshop just by gauging the room and seeing how many of you have ever gotten professional help in your resume before. One person. Okay. Has anyone ever been to a resume workshop before? Quite a few of you. Okay. Has anyone just gotten help from anybody on the resume before? Pretty much all of us. How many of you would agree that you talk to 10 different people, you get 10 different opinions on what makes a strong resume? How many of you are sick and tired of all the different opinions on what makes a strong resume? Me too. I can't stand it. I wish there could be like one general format that everybody agrees on that makes a strong resume, but unfortunately, that just doesn't exist. However, the good news is that I've spoken with hundreds of hiring managers, of HR directors, of recruiters. I know what the current resume trends are and what recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. And sometimes if they have a difference of opinion, I will present you the difference of opinion and then let you decide for yourself which one makes the most sense for you, okay? Everything that I teach in this workshop, I'm not your boss. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to guide you and steer you in the direction that we believe would be the best fit for you. But when it comes down to it, it's ultimately your decision because this is your resume and you know, you are the CEO of Your Name Inc., right? You represent your own company. Therefore, meaning you represent yourself. Did you guys get that? You represent yourself. Therefore, you know what's best for your resume. With that being said, I've had a lot of clients that come to me in the past and say, well, Hannah, you know, I'm just doing your resume your way. This is your resume. I'm just doing it it's like my resume. You're not, it's not for me. I'm not telling you because that's the way I like it. I'm telling you because that's the way hiring managers want it. Now let me ask you all, when it comes to the resume, whose opinion is most important? Yours, mine, or the hiring manager's? Of course, because they're the one that's going to be having the ultimate say of whether you're brought on board to the team or not, right? So this is not Hannah's resume that I'm teaching you, okay? This is the resume that after doing a lot of research and working with a lot of different hiring managers, this is the one that gets results, okay? This is the one that they love. As a matter of fact, I can't even count how many clients that have switched over to the formatting and the style that we suggest, and when they submit it to a hiring manager, the hiring manager is like, oh my goodness, I wish everyone's resume looked like this. This is amazing. I love it. Thank you so much. You're the best thing since sliced bread. It happens all the time, okay? And I wish for that to happen to you. For you, I mean. Now, the resume is nothing more than a marketing tool. What do I mean by that? The whole goal of the resume is to get you an interview. That's it. Your resume is not the obituary of everything you've ever done in your life. Your resume is not, you know, the shining example of all of your really cool activities and organizations that you're part of. The resume is a marketing tool. So because of that, when you think of that on the front end, then you have your end goal in mind as you're revamping your resume. Okay? The other thing is that the job search is a game. It's simply a game. And when you learn how to play the game, you can play to win. So my goal in teaching you this resume workshop is to teach you how to win this game called the job search. All right? So by the time we're done, you're going to be that red person in a sea of blue. Good?
Yes.
All right. So let's start off with some current resume trends, shall we? Who has ever heard of ATS or applicant tracking systems? Anybody?
Is that a computer where they just kind of...
It's a technology. It's a form of technology. So applicant tracking systems, so we all know that with the advent of technology, human resources departments have found ways to streamline their processes of working through, filtering the applicant process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay? So how do they streamline it? They've formulated this technology called applicant tracking systems. Applicant tracking systems boil down to the simplest terms. What they do are they give weighted scores for all of the resumes that are submitted for that particular position. So they weight the scores based on how closely they match the most important words and phrases on the job description. So I'm a hiring manager and I have a job description, and on that job description I know the absolute imperative skills that I absolutely want my employee to have. Well, I'll rate those skills, I'll put them on the job description, and then I'll rate every time the applicant tracking system scans the resume and finds that skill on the resume, it'll give it 20 points. Every time, for the lesser important skills, it finds that particular phrase on the resume, it'll give it 5 points, okay? And then you do this for everything that you want your applicant to have. So what they do is, on average right now, for any medium to large size company, there's 1,000 resumes that are being submitted online. That's a lot of resumes. Mm-hmm. So how are you able to shuffle through all those people? You run them all through the applicant tracking system. The resumes that most closely match the job description get bumped to the top. The ones with the most points get bumped to the top, and the rest of them are never to be seen. Many times a hiring manager's eyes will never set eyes on the majority of those resumes. So let's say that, they say, okay, out of these 1,000 resumes, I want to pull the top 50 resumes. Now, these are the ones I'm actually going to read. Once they decide to read them, they're going to give them about 3 to 5 seconds each. Now, they're getting 1,000 resumes. That's just for one position. What if they have 10 positions open? You cannot physically read 10,000 applications. So you may just read the top 50 that most closely match, okay? So they're going to give 3 to 5 seconds. And they're going to look over the resume. In about 3 to 5 seconds, you can get about halfway down the first page. So if you look at the resume that I handed out to you here, Mr. First Last, in about 3 to 5 seconds, you can scan about halfway down the first page, which is why it's important to prioritize those keywords and phrases at the top half of the resume. We're going to create a visual center that I'm going to explain to you about, right? Now, let's put ourselves, so I'm Mrs. Hiring Manager here, and I just grabbed my stack of 50 resumes, printed them out, the ones that got the most points. Give about 3 to 5 seconds each, and I'm going to do a yes pile and a no pile. The yes pile is, I'll give it another 30 seconds later. No pile is, no, I'm not interested. Okay? So I read a resume, oh yeah, I'll look at it again. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Let's say I boil it down to like 30 resumes now. Now I'm actually going to give it 30 seconds where I can read a little bit more and decide if I want to call this person in for a phone interview. What am I looking for on the resume? I'm looking for keywords. I'm looking for, I told you what I want in a job description. Now I'm reading your resume to see if you're going to be a good fit for what I'm looking for. Right? So I'm giving it 30 seconds deciding if I want to call you in for the phone interview. That's why you may be a perfect fit for this position. You may say, oh my goodness, this position was written for me. I'm submitting my resume. How many of you have ever seen a position online, you were like, oh, this was written for me, and you submit your resume and you never hear back from the employer? Yeah, sure. It's a lot of us. Well, the reason is they may never have even seen your resume. If your resume is not tailored to the job description, if your resume is not pulling those keywords and key phrases from the job description, they will never see you. So if they're highlighting customer experience, but you have client satisfaction, essentially the same thing, right? But because you didn't use your words consistently with the job description, the applicant tracking system's not going to trigger, and you're not going to get the points, and it's not going to get bumped up to the top. So it's super important, in order to get past the applicant tracking system, to tailor your resume to the job description. And we'll talk about that a lot during this workshop. Another thing, show employers how you're the solution to their current business problem with quantifiable accomplishment statements. What does quantifiable mean?
You can qualify. You can quantify.
Think about the word quantity. What does quantity mean?
How many of the
numbers.
Things that you need, yeah.
Numbers. Quantity. Quantifiable. Quantity. Numbers.
Yeah, how many?
You got to use numbers. Exactly. So an accomplishment statement. No longer are we just focusing on job duties. Job duty resumes read, and again, who's in trouble? Again, all the blue people resumes read like this. I'm teaching you all the 1%er things that are going to make your resume stand out and be that red one in the sea of blue. Most people's resumes read like they could have just cut and pasted it straight from the job description. Okay, it's a bunch of job duties, but it's not about what you accomplish. So I'm going to teach you how to write accomplishment statements today. and quantify them. You've got to have numbers on your resume. It's a huge difference. I'll show you later. Also, you want to create both a human and computer-friendly master resume. What is your master resume? It captures everything. So whereas your tailored resume won't be longer than 2 pages, your master resume is for your eyes only. You need one place to dump all of your accomplishments. Okay? So your master resume may go 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. That's fine because it's for you. So that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you're tailoring a new resume. You can just, it's easier to cherry pick and choose what you want and kind of make your resume fit the 2 pages than to have to restart and rethink and capture everything over and over and over again. So one master resume is good, and then you can tailor your resume from there. Now, what does it mean to have computer-friendly and human-friendly format? This is a human-friendly format. It's pleasing to the eyes. Okay, you make this on Microsoft Word. It has the bold, it has the tailoring to it, it has bullets, it has columns. This is really pleasing to the eyes. A computer-friendly format does not need all of that. How many of you have ever filled out an application online and it says cut and paste your resume into this little box here, right? And when you cut and paste your resume into the box, the formatting goes all haywire, and then you have to reformat everything. It gets really tedious. What about if you take your master resume, because when you cut and paste your resume into the little box, it doesn't care how long the resume is. So you can cut and paste, a longer resume into that little box there. But you cut and paste the resume into something called Notepad. Are you familiar with Notepad? So you can either cut and paste it into Notepad, which looks like this, for those of you that have a PC. If you have Apple, I don't know what it's called. And then you can cut and paste your resume into Notepad, refix all of the formatting in Notepad, and save it as a text format. Or you can just cut and paste it into your email, like straight into the body of an email, and left justify everything. I'm not going to do it for you right now. Move everything to the left-hand side, all the way down. You don't need bullets or anything like that. Make it easy for the computer to read, and then email it to yourself. That way, anytime that you need to cut and paste it from the box, you just open that email, cut and paste it, and you don't have to keep reformatting every time. Okay? It's just a little
But that's
little
what they'll
hint.
print out to read, right?
Typically, no. Typically, that's just for the applicant tracking system so that they can scan the whole thing. Yeah. So, in an applicant tracking system, you're not going to have 3 columns. You're just going to do all 12 skills all the way down the left-hand side of the screen.
That's where you say reformat it.
Reformat it, yeah. Move everything just straight down the left-hand side.
So you said cut and paste resume into your notepad, reformat it, and then do what with
And then
it?
just save it. So usually when you save a notepad file, it saves as TXT, a text document.
Gotcha.
Or you can just cut and paste that straight into your email. That's what I like to do. That way it's available no matter where you go. If you have access to the internet, you can pull up your email and there's your resume. Okay. Next, position critical information to create your easy-to-read visual center on the page. I just talked to you about that. That's your skills section. Usually, white space on a resume is good. So if a hiring manager is looking at your resume, their eyes are going to be drawn right about here first, where it says important skills first. Their eyes are going to be drawn there first. So you're creating that visual center. You are controlling what they look at first. It's neat how that happens.
Why is it, I'm looking at this, why is it their eye goes straight to important skills first?
It's either going to go right up here to the beginning of your summary or important skills first. It's because of the white space. It's just something about the way that their eyes go first. So you can control what they look at. Next, 2 pages are okay. Before, they used to say what? No more than 1 page. And that was a biggie, right? But this is what people started doing. They started to squeeze all their information on 1 page, make it really small font, and no margin space. And it was 1 big block of words. How many of you like reading 1 big block of words? You're probably like, ugh, I can't read that, toss it to the side. So that's not what we want. All right, so 2 spaces are good. If you've worked anywhere from 5 to 7 years or more, you're probably going to go into two pages. Also, numericals, number 1 through 9 are okay. I know formal grammar rules say that numbers 1 through 9, you want to spell them out. O-N-E. T-W-O, T-H-R-E-E. However, actual numericals on a resume draw your attention. There's something about the way that our brains are wired that if you see a number in a sea of words, your eyes are drawn to it immediately. So if you want to draw them to some of your accomplishments, use a number. So you can make certain exceptions on the resume, right? Also, margins, no less than about 0.75 all the way around. We say your margin space should be between 0.75 and 1 inch all the way around. All right, no less than that though, because you don't want it squeezed all the way to the edge of the paper. Suggested font. Who's ever heard of something called serif and sans serif?
I've heard of it.
Yeah? Okay. So serif, S-E-R-I-F, I like to call it with tail, okay? So it's letters with tails, like Times New Roman. Kind of looks like this, okay? Times New Roman is pretty standard when you're using it in documents. However, you want, if this person's only going to be scanning your resume for 3 seconds, you want to make it as simple and easy and clear for them to scan as possible. And it's just a little bit, when you're scanning documents, it's just a little bit easier to read something sans serif, which means without tail. A great sans serif font would be Arial. Okay, and again, these are all suggestions for you. You can take it or leave it. It's your resume. But we found that Arial, again, these are just the little 1%er things to set you apart from everybody else. Arial is a nice, cleaner font to read, and it makes it a lot easier when you're scanning a paper to read a sans serif font without tail, okay? And you don't want it any smaller than size 11. So anywhere, if you kind of want to fill the paper a little bit more, you might do Arial 12. If you need a little bit more space, you might do Arial 11, but no smaller than Arial 11, right? Okay, also, include ways that you can be found digitally. We are replacing your street address with your email. Everyone has email now. If they want to contact you, they're not mailing you anything. They will email you. So you do not need street address on your resume anymore. As a matter of fact, it's way too much personal information. Yeah. You're sending your resume out to anyone and everyone. You have no idea who's going to get your resume. They do not need to know your address, especially with identity theft out there. They can put a lot of pieces of information together. You don't know who's going to have access to your information. You just don't want that. So get the street address off of there. Put a professional email there. Professional email would be first, last name @gmail. No more nickname. So I don't want to see any more Mad Dog 224, which I've seen. I promise you, I've seen come across my desk.
Oh my God.
I saw Barbie Girl. I saw, yes, really, yeah, on the resume. So we don't want that. We want first, last. And if your first and last name is more common, you might have to put like a period between the first and last name. I wouldn't put an underscore because most of the time email addresses will get that underline. You don't want it to get lost in there. No cause for confusion. So you may want to put some numbers at the end of your email. If you do numbers, what's the one number that you never, never, never use?
6.
A 1.
3. 0.
Your birth year or your birthday. Why do you not want to put your birthday behind your email address, your names on your email?
Your birth year?
Well, your birthday period. Why would you not want to put anything having to do with your birthday?
Last name and your birthday, then they can get they can...
Number one, the identity theft piece. You don't want that too much personal information, but also they know what year you were born, and that might open up for discrimination. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to have your birth year. If you have your birthday or your year on your email address, you might want to create a new email address. As a matter of fact, I recommend that everyone just start a new email address just for the job search. That way you'll never lose another email again, or it won't get lost in the shuffle of all your other emails. Okay, also, LinkedIn. How many of you are currently on LinkedIn? Okay, not enough hands. You've got to get on LinkedIn. If your job has anything to do with computers, you need to have a professional online presence. You've got to. It's not even optional anymore, okay? Over 93% of hiring managers, recruiters, they're sourcing their talent on LinkedIn. And if they didn't find you on LinkedIn, they're certainly going to look to see if you have a professional profile, because it's standard these days. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile, you're missing out, number one, on the networking side. You're missing out on so many great opportunities. But more importantly, that may cause a yellow flag in their head and say, well, is this person not comfortable with computers? Are they not up with the times, technology? Why do they not have a professional LinkedIn profile? It's standard now. So everyone needs to at least just sign up and get the free profile. I believe everything that a job seeker needs is provided completely free on LinkedIn. So sign up for a LinkedIn profile and just set up the profile, okay? So at least you have, it's not that difficult. You just follow their instructions step by step by step. Okay. And then once, for those of you that do have a LinkedIn, make sure that you personalize your LinkedIn URL. If your LinkedIn URL says linkedin.com/pub/a bunch of letters and numbers, you have not personalized it yet. Once you personalize it, it'll say linkedin.com/in/first name, last name. That's when you know that's what you put on your resume. Include footer. Look at the bottom. At the bottom of the page here, you'll notice that it says first and last name, your email address, and the page number. The reason is when you go to print your resume, you're not going to print front and back. You're only going to print it front, okay? And sometimes the pages may get separated. Well, most of the time we don't have our name anywhere on the second page. So you want to make sure that you have your name and your email address on the second page, so if they ever get separated, the hiring manager can marry the two pages. Okay, thank you for that. Don't add references available upon request. It takes up space on the resume, and that's a given. So that's just, it's fluff. If they want references, they'll ask you for them. So that's expected now that you're going to give references. So you do not need to add that to the resume. I've already really introduced the master resume. The importance of it is it keeps all of your information in one place where you can cherry pick from your master resume depending on all of your skills. Right now is probably going to take the most energy in revamping your resume. Why? Because as you're thinking about accomplishment statements, when you're between positions or after you've left one position, we get hit with something that I call amnesia, where we start to forget everything that we did well on the job. So we're forgetting all of our accomplishments. We're forgetting everything that we were good at. We start to sometimes think, am I good at anything? What was it? I've forgotten, right? It's normal. It happens to all of us. And so this can start to become kind of overwhelming and frustrating when we're starting to think, I don't remember what I did on the job. Well, what you can do is start with what you have on your resume already and go from there. And once you get your subconscious really thinking about it, you put your subconscious to work, it'll be amazing how it works. It happens every time. Your subconscious is still working on it even after you've moved on to other things. And you'll be heading to bed one night and it'll be like, ding, oh yeah, that's right. I remember I did this and this and this. Well, as soon as you remember it, write it down. Because I guarantee you by the morning it'll be gone again. And you'll be like, oh, I forgot what I was thinking about. So as soon as you remember, jump on the master resume or grab a piece of paper and write down that accomplishment, because you want to start thinking about all the great things that you did when you were at your previous positions. It's also easy to tweak for each targeted position, and it helps you remember before the interview. If you read over that master resume, because in an interview, facts tell, stories sell. Tell lots of stories in your interview, okay? So it helps you remember all of your accomplishments and refresh your memory so that you go into the interview feeling strong and confident. All right, so the master resume is great. Next. And again, the master resume is just for you. There's a couple of different resume formats I want to cover. Today, we're going to focus on the chronological format just because it's the most common format. The chronological resume basically lists all of your previous occupations or previous careers in reverse chronological format from the most recent first all the way back to the oldest. And all of your specific accomplishments for that job. A functional resume, I'm not going to spend much time on today, but a lot of people hear about it. Has anyone ever heard of a functional resume before? A lot of people hear about it and they think, ooh, that might be for me. However, I would strongly advise you think twice before doing a functional resume. The reason is it's a double-edged sword. A functional resume describes your skill sets more than your actual work history. So it talks about everything that you're great at, but not really where you did it or where you practiced it. So your work experience is basically listed briefly at the bottom, sometimes with years, sometimes without, but it mainly focuses on your skill set. The type of people that would want to use a functional resume would be or the type of people that I've heard wanted to use a functional resume would be people that have either like been out of the workforce for a long time and they kind of want to mask over the fact that they haven't been working for a while. Some people who are having a career change, who used to be focused on one area, but now they completely want to go into a whole unrelated other area, so they want to focus more on their transferable skills. Okay? Or somebody that just graduated and doesn't really have a work history, and they want to focus more on their skill set and what they learned in school than necessarily where they worked. So there's a lot of different people that really prefer to use this type of position. The functional resume, some people think that it would be great to use it if they fall into one of those three categories. Well, the problem is a hiring manager, the moment that they see that you have a functional resume, what's the first thing they're going to think?
Changing. Out of work. Been out, been gone.
They're going to wonder, do you fall into one of those three categories? What are you trying to hide? So the very reason that you want to use the resume, very good, is the very reason that might cause a yellow flag in their head. So we've even had some clients that said, well, I still want to do the functional resume. I said, okay, you're a powerful person. You do what you want to do. And they submitted it to the hiring manager. Hiring manager gave it back and said, I don't want this. Give me a chronological resume. So who does the functional resume work well for? It works well for individuals like graphic designers that do the same output of work over and over and over for like contracted work for a bunch of different companies. Then you can talk about your work skills and then list all the companies that you did that work for. Okay? A hybrid resume combines both. Particularly, it gives a more expanded skill set, but it still goes into the accomplishments on the job as well. If you're interested in either functional or hybrid, you can do some more research online, and there's plenty of articles that explain about the functional and the hybrid resume. So, but today we're going to focus on the chronological because that's the most widely accepted resume format. Okay, let's go into the anatomy of a resume. Resume basically has 5 parts. Your job target, objective or headline, and objective is quickly becoming null and void. A lot of hiring managers don't even want to see it anymore. So a headline is what I would prefer, just like a LinkedIn headline.
LinkedIn headline. That's not this?
I'll explain that. Highlight your qualifications. So that's your professional summary and your highlighted skills. That's that visual center that we were talking about. Your career history, which would be your professional experience, and your education. If your education is more recent than your career work history, then you can list the education first and then the professional experience second. And then any value-add career-related activities, affiliations, awards, etc. So that's how the resume goes. So let's talk about the objective. Objective, again, is becoming more obsolete. So you don't even need to include an objective if you don't want to. So this is the wrong way. And again, this is what blue people do. We're not blue people, we're red people.
That's right.
So, wrong way. To secure a position in a fast-paced environment where I can utilize my skills with an opportunity for advancement, blah, blah, blah.
Did you just read that over here?
It's okay. That's before. That tells me nothing, okay? No. If you use an objective, you don't want fluff. No fluff. That's fluff. It doesn't tell me what you're looking for. Make it clear and concise. I need to fix that. That's a senior electrical technician at ABC company. Okay? You do the position name at company. That's it. So whatever position is on the job description, whatever the company is that you're applying for, that's what you put. Or office assistant position at ABC company. Just put the title of the position that you're applying for. Or you can create a headline with a clear phrase about what you're targeting. So if you're targeting, you're branding yourself as an expert in this field. So certified business analyst, project and event coordinator, trainer, facilitator. This person, those are the 3 broad areas that they're branding themselves as an expert in. Flip over to Mr. Winston Smithfield on the 2nd page. His resume it's a higher level resume. It's a C-level resume, okay, corporate level resume. So he's probably, CEO, CFO, one of those, COO. But at the top of his resume, he highlights global technology marketing and sales, telecommunications, and partnership development. So this can change depending on whatever position you're going for. So I would prefer a headline. This is what it would look like on your LinkedIn profile. So headlines are becoming commonplace. If you can't tell the employer what they should hire you for, you're using fluff like that up there, why should they take the time to figure it out? You need to be extremely clear on what you bring to the table. All right. Next, professional summary. A professional summary covers your experience level, your number of years of experience, the industry that you worked in, any key skills or major strengths, any professional or relevant traits, and any added value. Captures all of that in one paragraph. And the paragraph on the screen matches the one on the paper. All right, so all you have to do is plug and chug. We made it as simple as possible for you. And if you do it exactly as we put on this paper and plug in the information that's relevant to you, you will have an extremely strong professional summary. All right, that reads really well. When we have clients that do this afterward, they look at this and they go, oh my goodness, I can't believe that's me. That sounds so good. So you're going to be, I think you'll like it. So what are the benefits of a professional summary statement? It gets the attention of the reader fast. It captures the essence of your experience, your skills, and your accomplishments, and it serves kind of as your mini resume or your commercial. They're going to be reading your resume in 3 to 5 seconds. You want to capture all your best stuff as quickly as possible at the top of the page. So here's an example. All right? So, what's the first thing? An adjective noun. A highly effective health insurance professional, okay, with number of years of experience. With 7+ years of experience in the medical industry. Now, let's pause right there. Your number of years of experience should not say more than 10 or 15+ years. So if you have more than 15 years of experience in a particular field, that little plus sign will encapsulate all those extra years. Why would you not want to emphasize more than 15 years of experience?
Give away your age.
It might give away your age. And would you say that 15 years of experience is quite a, you know what you're doing if you've got at least 15 years of experience? Here's another reason. So on the resume, I'm going to say it a lot, no yellow flags. No yellow flags. So if you have 20, 30, or more years of experience, highlight on your resume, is the work that you did 20 years ago in 1994, just to put it in perspective, the same work that you're doing today? For the majority of us, the answer is no.
So don't show more than 9 years?
15+. If you have more than 15 years of experience, do 15+. Or if they're asking on the job description for 9 years of experience, you might want to say 9+. You're tailoring your resume. Why? Because if you say that you got 15, 20, 30, they might say you're overqualified. So you say 9+. It's a marketing tool. Are we lying? Do we have more than 9 years of experience?
Yes.
Okay. So we're okay for this part, right? Also, here's another one. As a hiring manager, if I see more than 15 years of experience up there, I'm going to be thinking, are they so stuck in the way that they used to do things back in 1994 that they're not willing to move ahead with the times? I want someone that's going to help me stay on the forefront of the cutting edge of my industry. And if somebody is saying that they've been in this, an administrative assistant, I've been in this role since 1984, 30 years, but I'm thinking, are they so stuck in the way that they did it back in 1984 that they're not willing to use all of the new technology? You see how that could hurt you? So you want to definitely put no more than 15+ years of experience. But I would really tailor it to what the job description is saying that they want. And that little plus encapsulates all of those extra years. Okay? So, in the medical industry, expertise includes, watch this, both medical and dental terminology, claims processing, and customer service. Where do you think, see this? Key functions or key strengths, key responsibilities include skill, skill, and skill. Where are they getting those 3 skills from? The job description. Very good. Yeah, so you can cut and paste those 3 skills straight from the job description. So the job description is saying these 3 skills are mandatory. And you've got them? Then those should be the first 3 skills that you mentioned. You see how that works? It catches the eyes of the hiring manager and it helps you with the applicant tracking system. You're capturing it. You want to do it verbatim. Keep your language consistent with the language of the job description. And if I'm a hiring manager and I'm scanning and I'm thinking in my head, I want someone that has this, this, and this, and that's the first thing that I see, the resume is going to catch my attention. Now, I have a lot of clients on the other side that say, but Hannah, aren't they going to think that you're cheating? Aren't they going to know that you're trying to brown nose and tell them what they want to hear? Well, that's one way to think. Was anyone thinking like that? You guys are a good class. Okay, well, good. Well, okay. Well, think about this. As a hiring manager, do I want to see, if I'm receiving a resume, do I want to receive a resume that some generic resume that someone shot to me and 100 other employers without fixing it, just one generic resume? Or do I want to see a resume that someone took the time to read my job description, figure out what I want, figure out if they have it, and feed it back to me showing that this resume was made specifically and specially just for you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so it's good to tailor the resume. All right, this is expected now. Hiring managers do not want one generic resume that got sent to a million other people. They want to see that you made this resume just for them. Okay, so it's easy. So you're following the lead, and I'll show you how to do this later. You're following the lead of the job description. You're letting them tell you, so that the job description gives you all the hints and clues of what you need to put on your resume. All right, so you're following their lead. They tell you what they want. If you got it, you're just feeding it right back. So that's where you put those 3 skills. We all got that? Okay. Y'all with me? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Because we haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet, so I hope you're not overwhelmed yet. Okay, special abilities in both skill, and skill. Proven ability to produce exceptionally high quality work while increasing client satisfaction. I bet in the job description it mentioned that they want someone to produce high quality work with a focus on client satisfaction. There's probably something in there. Now notice they said client satisfaction. What is that? What's that another word for?
Customer service.
Customer service. But they didn't say customer service. They kept it consistent with the job description. All right? Why? Because that applicant tracking system is going to be looking for client satisfaction. Okay? So, now you know where to pull those skills from. Just pull them straight from the job description. And then closing it out, an adjective person. What are the 2 adjectives that would describe you? Well, let's think about that. You can actually be very intentional with the adjectives that you use to describe yourself as well. If I'm going for a preschool teacher position, what are some of the attributes that make a good preschool teacher?
Master's degree?
Attributes, personalities. Patience, what else?
Caring.
Compassion, caring, enthusiasm. So I might say a caring and enthusiastic person who. See that? Because I'm finding the adjectives, the last sentence of the professional summary. I'm using adjectives that describe me. These are adjectives that I possess. I'm caring and enthusiastic because they're tailored toward the career that I want to go into. Okay, person who is committed to the growth of the students or something like that. Okay. If I'm going for a defense attorney position, what are some of the attributes of a defense attorney? A defense attorney. A high-profile defense attorney. What would I be going for? Say it again. Tenacious. What else?
Works well under pressure.
Well, yeah, under pressure. What else? Committed. Okay. What else? What about articulate, aggressive, right? So if I said a caring and enthusiastic, compassionate person, would that work for? No.
Absolutely.
If I said an aggressive and tenacious person, would that work for the preschoolers?
No.
Some would say yes. Some people would say you need to be for preschoolers.
Well, you need to be tenacious, but no.
So you guys get it. So you can actually tailor yourself for that position to show the qualities that they're looking for in that type of position. And sometimes the job description will tell you.
Yes, because I have that in mind, kind of what they'll ask for, a type of person.
And if you got it, that's what you're saying, okay? The company. Many times companies have certain company cultures. You can also do research about the company, and if the company culture, for example, Nordstrom's wants their employees to be very entrepreneurial. They want them to treat that position like it's their own company. So if you know that a company says we like our people to be, you know, this type of person, and that's the type of person you are, that's what you highlight right there in that area. I'm an entrepreneurial minded, whatever, sales focused, goals driven. Okay, so you can read from there it would be what are the attributes of either the position or attributes of the company that you want to bring to their attention. All right, let's move on to skill summary. Highlighted skills section. Highlighted skills section is my favorite section on the resume, and most people don't have it. And this is one of the things that definitely makes you a red person in a sea of blue. The power of the highlighted skills section, it helps you prioritize and categorize in an easy-to-view format. Again, on a resume, white space is good. Not too much white space, but just enough, okay? And the highlighted skill section, by creating 3 columns, you're creating a little bit of white space on your resume, which means it draws the eyes to what you want them to see. Also, if you think about it, in our society, we have moved to having a very short attention span. With the advent of YouTube and video clips and the way that movies are now spliced together and TV shows, our attention span is very short. And so we just want small bites of information. Well, the highlighted skills section is able to tell the employer exactly what you bring to the table in small bites of information, just enough to make them curious and want to learn more. So it creates the visual center in the middle of the page where it gives them something for their eyes to be drawn to. It reflects the keywords and the key phrases from the target job postings, and it highlights specific technical and industrial related skills. Before, we used to see technical skills at the very bottom of the second page. Well, guess what? A hiring manager is not going to make it down to the bottom of the second page in 3 to 5 seconds to find out what technical skills you have. So if you have skills that are really relevant to the job that you're applying for and you want it to be noticed first, then that's that skill that you list first. So let's go ahead and dissect the highlighted skills section here. In a highlighted skills section, you have the most important skills listed in that top left corner. So if they say that you need a certain certification that not everybody has, or if you need to know a certain computer program or have a certain technical skill or some certain knowledge or ability that's more difficult and that you have and not a lot of people have, you want to list that first. Those most important skills, you want to list that first because that'll draw their attention immediately. Oh, wow, that was one of our non-negotiables and they have it. That's great. And because most people, when they're reading a list of words, they go down the first column, down the second column, down the third column. I know some people say, but I read across. Well, that's great. You're the exception to the rule, but most people read down the first column, down the second column, down the third column. You want your order of important skills to go down the first column, down the second column, down the third column. So where do you get these skills from? So number one, you want to have 3 columns. And you may have either 3 to 4 lines. So you're going to have anywhere between 9 and 12 skills total. Well, you want to pull from the job posting. I'm just reading down the first column. You want to use the 3 columns, 3 to 4 lines. And you want just 2 to 3 word phrases. I'm going to show you how to do this. So you're not going to have much room to talk about proficient in da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Take off the proficient in and just tell me the little bit of what the actual skill is. Okay, 2 to 3 words. And you can cut and paste these directly from the job description. You're not cut and pasting entire sentences, just 2 to 3 words at a time. It gives clues to the relevant skills, creates your visual center. You want to keep it simple, be creative. No bullets. Bullets actually add clutter. You don't want clutter. You want to keep it simple. Okay? So get rid of the bullets. You want it as clean and simple as possible. And finally, soft skills will go toward the end of your list. What are soft skills?
Hardworking. Secondary.
Hardworking, teamwork, people skills. People skills and exactly. Okay? All right. So if we look at it as an example, this person's highlighted skills say patient servicing procedures, total wellness, measuring body's chemistry, cohesive office culture. If you notice, none of the skills spill over to a second line. Speaking of that, when you're doing your highlighted skill section, you are not doing a table. An applicant tracking system cannot read tables. It comes out as a bunch of jargon, letters and numbers. So you're just writing the first skill, you're tabbing to the middle, writing the second skill, tabbing to the end, writing the third skill. Don't use that fancy columns format either on your computer. Number one, it's really confusing. And number two, the applicant tracking system can't read that. Just keep it really simple. First one, tab to the middle, second one. So they wrote their first one, they tabbed to the middle, they wrote the second one, etc. And you don't want your skills to fall over to spill over to a second line. You got to capture it in 2 to 3 words max. Okay? So, and then if you notice at the end, attention to detail, exceptional communicator, interpersonal skills. These are the softer skills toward the end. But the most important one was the patient servicing procedures. So that's really what they pulled out for the beginning. So we'll do an activity really quickly. Here's an office manager position in a medical office. Okay? What I want you to do is scan this really quickly, the job description. What I would recommend you do is, if you have a job description that you want to tailor your resume for, I would print out the job description and take a highlighter and highlight, while you're getting used to doing this, highlight the skills that they mention in the job posting. And then you just take those highlights, whatever you highlighted, and that's what you're going to stuff this top section with, those highlighted skills. And I'm sure there's more in there, but these are the ones that I found. So I would print it out, and then I would highlight those specific skills. Now this is what I would want to input into my professional summary in my highlighted skills section, these words. Okay? So I don't have to think and try to figure out what they want. I just feedback. If they say they want it and I got it, that's what I put on my resume. So we have up here innovative, detail-oriented, flexible, strategic, friendly, total wellness, body chemistry, office manager, communicator, passionate, work collaboratively, patient servicing procedures, okay? And that's where I came up with those highlighted skills. You guys got that? That's how you do that. Straight from the job description. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're just taking what they give you. Now, some job descriptions are not as detailed as others are. So it'll be a little bit harder to tailor your resume for those descriptions. But for the most part, they give you all the information you need to tailor your resume. Just be honest. If you don't have that skill, just don't mention it. Yes.
So if you don't come up with 9 to 12, I mean, maybe you got 6.
Then you might want to use 3 of your transferable skills that they didn't mention but are completely relevant to that position. Insert the 3 of your relevant skills right there. Good question. I'm telling you, you guys are going to have power-packed resumes by the time I'm done with you. Okay, let's go into work history. Now, if you notice, I have work history as the title, but on my resume, I have professional experience. You do not want to be creative with the header when you're on the resume. Why? Because the applicant tracking system does not know what creative function means. Or, if you get too creative with the header and creative history, creative background, it's not going to know, oh, this is where the professional experience is. So either work history or professional experience, and the applicant tracking system will know, oh, this is where I'm looking for all of the accomplishment statements.
So the one that's preferable over the other, professional experience or
nope,
work history?
Doesn't matter. I usually would just keep it professional experience. Okay. In this area is where you back up all of the information that you said above. So if you said that you had total wellness, then you need to back it up somewhere in your work history. You need to show how you use that particular skill in your work history. So you want to back that up. Now, in the work history, you're going to have your job title, your company name, the city and state of your location, the dates of employment, and for the last 10 to 15 years max. I'll explain to you in a moment how to notate it if you worked at a company for more than 15 years. You can include self-employment, contract work, volunteer positions, all of those are okay. If you've got the experience, you can own it and put it on your resume. You don't have to get a paycheck in order to qualify for it to go on your resume. Sometimes you can put, if you look under the most recent position title, you'll see that optional in italics. You can add a short 2 to 3 sentence paragraph giving context to the company or your position if you want, but it's not necessary. All right? Right under the top position here, most recent. Optional, right there. So sometimes people like to give just a 1 to 2 sentence blurb giving context, but you don't have to. Now, just under that, you're going to put 3 to 7 achievements and bullet forms. You're going to show quantifiable accomplishment statements. But before I go there, I'm going to go back up. I would suggest that you put the position title first and the company name beneath it. I know that some industries say, well, it's the company where you worked at is more important than the position that you worked. However, for the most part, employers want to see what you did more than where you worked. Okay, so you want to put that position title on top of the company. And also the years. You do not need to put months on your resume. Years are okay. So you can take off the months and just do the years. All right, let's jump down to the bullet points now. You do want to put your accomplishment statement in bullet format. If you've got a big old thick paragraph under each position, you want to break that down into bullet points. Paragraphs are so hard to read. You're basically making the hiring manager search for the relevant information. You want to make it as simple as possible for them to read. What are your bullet formats going to include? What do accomplishment statements include? Paid and unpaid work, projects that you've worked on, leadership roles that you've held, team participation, all of those are fair game. How many of us on the job did work that was outside of our job description, that was not listed on our job description? All of us, right? Sure. Why? Because we took initiative and we were team players, and so we knew that if the job had to get done, and we did it. So you can include that on your job description. It doesn't have, on your accomplishment statements. It didn't have to be listed on your job description in order for you to list it. So let's break down accomplishment statements. What are they? Accomplishment statements are nothing more than success stories. It shows your capacity to do the work. You want to put a big star next to that. Write that down, something. Accomplishment statements show your capacity to do the work. You want to keep them concise, specific, and quantitative. How do you do that? Think of a car. Challenge, action, result. What was the situation? What did you do? What was the action you took? And what was the positive result? That is how you write an accomplishment statement. So, here's a weak bullet. And I see this on resumes all the time. Like a 3-word bullet. It's not even a full sentence. Just train new employees. Well, that's nice. Good for you. What does that mean? That doesn't tell me anything. Okay? It doesn't tell me how many employees you trained. So it doesn't show me your capacity to do the work. It just shows me that you were supposed to train new employees. All right. Now, I see bullets like this all the time. Think about it. You've got 2 workers, okay? One's total slacker. They come in late, they leave early, they do the minimum amount of work that they can do so that they don't get fired, they cause trouble, and you have to make up for them, right? There's total slacker. Train new employees. Okay? On the other hand, there's you. You were a rock star. You came in early, you left late, you made up for the work this guy didn't do, right? You took initiative, you were a problem solver. You were extremely beneficial to the company. Well, guess what? How can you tell the 2 of you apart when both of you say train new employees? You can't. You can't tell the 2 people apart. That's why you've got to expand on your accomplishment statements. So, here's a better bullet. Train new employees resulting in increased customer satisfaction. Well, at least now it tells me that your focus was increased customer satisfaction and that you actually increased the customer satisfaction. Well, that's great. Okay? That's a better bullet, but still it's not quantifying. It doesn't quantify how many employees that you served, how much better the customer satisfaction rate got. Now, most of you may not have tracked those type numbers. Like, you don't know what the customer satisfaction rate was before and after you train those new employees. You don't have access to those numbers. Well, that's fine. If you can guesstimate, great, do it. If you can't, leave that number alone. There'll be plenty of other numbers to input. However, the best bullet would say something like this. Increased customer satisfaction rate by 20%. So let's say they used to get 4 happies, now they get 5 happies. Well, that's 20% increase. By training 15 new employees in customer service and sales. That is a great bullet. Why? It quantifies how much they were able to increase the rate. If you can't do it, again, leave that alone. But it talks about how many new employees they trained. Someone that's trained 15 new employees, would you say they know what they're doing?
Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to somebody that's only trained 2. Okay? And also it shows your capacity to do the work. Someone may say 15 there, someone else may say 300. It just shows, it gives the hiring manager more information. It talks about the area that they focused on. And then look at this. This is really powerful. Everyone pull out the sheet that says the basics of the accomplishment statements. This one right here. Basics of the accomplishment statement. Does everyone have this sheet? Okay. This one was written for recent college graduates, but it's very relevant to professionals as well. If you look over on the right-hand side of the page, see that box in the middle of the page on the right-hand side of the page? This is another 1%er that will set your resume apart from so many other people's. A well-formulated accomplishment statement has 2 parts. The first part is the result, the positive result that came from the outcome of your work. It can be in terms of the value added and as tangible and quantified a manner as possible. So the positive result goes first. So notice on this, in the better bullet, they talk about what they did, they trained new employees, and then they talked about the positive result. It resulted in increased customer satisfaction. A stronger resume starts with the positive result, increased customer satisfaction, and then talks about what they did by training new employees in customer service and sales. So the strongest bullets start with the positive result and then attach it to the work that you actually did. Okay? You guys get that? Okay. So here's an example. Challenge, action, result. A department wasn't able to handle all the incoming calls, so the employee took initiative. How many of you are problem solvers? You took initiative on the job. If you saw a problem, you figured out a way to solve it. And if you're not raising your hand, you might have been the person that caused the problem. Okay. I'm just kidding. I know we're all problem solvers in here. So you looked into the new phone system, and you counted calls after changing to the new system. So is this an overnight thing? No, you probably have to get approval from your supervisor and go through all of the steps and get the budget and all of that. But, this is a little project that they took on. Well, they realized once changing to the new system, they went from answering 100 to 125 incoming calls per hour. Now, again, do we have access to these numbers on the back end? Probably not, but a lot of us can probably guesstimate, I used to answer this many calls. I remember getting about this many complaints, and then afterward it went down to about that. That's good. You can guesstimate. You don't have to have the exact numbers in order to capture a number on your resume. Because if they ask you to back it up, you can say, well, when I was thinking back, I took about this many calls, I got about this many. You can guesstimate about what those numbers might be. That's okay. And then on your resume, you just say approximately such and such and such.
You said result first, then action.
Result first, then action. So watch this. Very good. Here's the result. Increased capacity for incoming calls by 25% hourly by researching and implementing a new corporate phone system. You start with the positive result and then attach it to the action that you took. So, when you're thinking about quantifying accomplishment statements, what are the types of numbers that you use? These are the types of numbers that I would suggest you use. $. Flip over to the back of Mr. First last year. How to turn job duties into accomplishment statements. So you're not just highlighting what you did, you're highlighting how well you did it. So PAR, problem, action, result, same thing as CAR, challenge, action, result. You're going to use numbers. So numbers, how did you ever increase sales or reduce costs? Okay? And I have some clients that say, but I wasn't involved in sales. I didn't have anything to do with increasing the sales of the company. Well, guess what? How many of you have ever dealt with an end user or a customer or something like that? Client, customer, something like that. Okay. So you are involved in customer retention because if the customer was unhappy, how many of you have ever dealt with an unhappy customer before? And you had to resolve the situation and make sure they were happy so that they remained a customer. Guess what? Because you being in that position and doing what you did, whatever that fabulous thing was that you did, you helped increase their customer retention rate. So you can say increased customer retention rate by, and then talk about what you did. All right? Because had they lost the customer to a competitor, they would have lost sales. So your action did have a result on the money for the company. So you want to think on a larger scale. On the bottom line, thank you. You don't want to think from the bottom up, you want to think from the top down. Don't think, oh, I was just another cog in the wheel, I just did what I was told to do and it didn't really have an impact on the company. You have to think from the top down. How did me doing this role in this capacity help the company? You also want to think in terms of time. How did me being in this job help save time? Or how did I complete all my projects on time or ahead of time? Think in terms of time. Or you can think in terms of percentages. So I improved the productivity by such and such percent. Or I did my job with 100% accuracy. Or I increased the customer satisfaction rate by such and such percent. Think in terms of percentages. Or just cold hard numbers. I worked on a team of this many people. Or I was responsible for doing the payroll for this many employees. Or I was, I case managed a client caseload of such and such number of clients. Like just cold hard numbers. I led a team of such and such number of people. Let's read through some of the bullets here. These bullets provide hints or clues on how to make strong accomplishment statements. So, somebody read the first bullet under the most recent position title.
Use quantifiable accomplishment statements to tell not only what you did, but most importantly, how much, how often, and how well you did it.
There you go. Underline those three things. How much, how often, and how well you did it. Okay? Those help you quantify. So think about, well, how much did I do this? How often did I do this? Did I do this 5 times a day? Did I answer 25 phone calls a day? How many phone calls did I answer? One person has the capacity to answer 25 calls a day. Another person has the capacity to answer 300 calls per day or 100 calls per day. What is your capacity to do the work? Okay? Second, the strongest bullets highlight the positive result first, then the action you took. We talked about that. Stick to 3 to 7 bullet points per position. No longer than 1 to 2 lines each. You want to keep it just keep to one skill at a time, but 3 to 7 bullets. So the more relevant positions on your resume are going to get more bullets. The less relevant positions on your resume are going to get less bullets. Now, the second position. What about if you've worked one position for more than 10 years? Well, guess what? You want to break that position down into 2 or more different positions. Why? You want to show progress within that company. Okay? It might, believe it or not, if you worked at one company for more than 10 years and you just show one big block of time, 15 years in this one role, that could actually work against you. Because the hiring manager is going to think, were they not worthy of a promotion? Did they not want more responsibility? Why did they stay in this one role for so long? So you want to show, even if you didn't formally get a new title, but how many of you would say over 10 years you're going to get a little bit more responsibility? You want to break that down to show your progression of responsibility at that one particular company. So if that's the case, you want to put the name of the company first, and then you're going to put your first title and your second title and the years that you worked in those particular roles. But you'll have the company listed first because you're going to list your progression under that, okay?
The first title, then the second title, or the second title, then the first title?
The most recent title.
Recent title first.
And then under that.
Just like everything else.
Yes. You have a question?
Yeah, so like with the aviation company, I worked there for 8 years. But when I first started off, I started off as an accounting assistant, and then I moved to controller. So on my
you
resume,
want to show that.
I have that.
Perfect.
Same company.
That's
the
you got it.
years
Yep.
that I was in that position.
It's exactly how you want to do it. Very good. So you're going to split up the work experience where you work for one company for a longer period of time. 8 years is, it's fine. To multiple positions to show your progression. It also supports your highlighted skills. So your bullets are backing up your highlighted skills. If you say you got a skill, you want to show how you used it in your bullet points. And it highlights your transferable skills and your accomplishments that are relevant to the position you're applying for. Now, these aren't going to change very much. All right, your bullet points aren't going to change very much. Most of the time when you're tailoring your resume, you're just tailoring this top portion. Unless you mention a skill up here that you don't have mentioned anywhere else in your resume, you're probably going to want to add a bullet point that speaks to that particular skill. But for the most part, it's going to be all-encompassing down here. You're not going to change around the bullet points very much. Okay? Try to think of examples where you saved money, increased customers, increased sales, dealt with a difficult situation effectively, demonstrated leadership. It didn't have to be on your job description in order for you to mention it. Anything that you did well. If you did it, you can own it and mention it. Okay? If you are working with computers and your friends, and you haven't had a job in a year, but for the last year you've been helping your friends fix computers, then guess what? You can own that. You can put it on your resume. If that's the field that you want to go into, you've done it. You can own it. Get it on there. You didn't have to get a W-2 in order to put it on your resume. We good?
I have a few things for Annie.
Okay. All right. I also have, watch this. Everyone flip over to Winston Smithfield. Let me show you the power of numbers on a resume, okay? When I say go, I'd like everyone to look down at the bottom of Winston Smithfield's resumes at his accomplishment statements and read to me the first thing that pops out at you. Ready? Go.
700.
Keep going.
600.
Keep going.
700.
Keep going. Keep going.
40
Keep going.
million, 18 months.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Numbers pop out. Our brains are psychologically wired somehow that we look for a number in a sea of words. And we want to know what that number is attached to. You guys didn't just say the number. You said million. You said 700 employees. You said 18 months. We want to know what's this number attached to. Numbers are super powerful. Now remember, Winston Smithfield, he's a higher level. This is a higher level resume. Most of us weren't dealing with money in the millions of dollars, okay? But it shows his capacity to do the work. You might not have been dealing with a budget in the millions, but you might have been dealing with a budget, $30,000 budget, or $3,000 budget, or $300,000 budget. What is your capacity to do the work? Because one person may only be able to handle a $500 budget while someone else is able to handle a $50,000 budget. What is your capacity to do the work? Okay, you want to show these numbers to show this is what I can do. And it sets you apart from everybody else. Numbers are powerful. Get those numbers on there. And every single bullet doesn't need to have a number. However, you want to have, numbers are good on the resume. If you can get a number in there, try to find a way to get the number on there. You guys got it?
Got it.
I've got, when I send you your email afterward, I have a few different attachments that they'll include that have other ways to help you write accomplishment statements. I know it's going to take a lot of time and energy on the front end, but you'll be so grateful on the back end. I have clients that went from sending out 100 resumes, not one response, to using the information that I teach today and tailoring 10 good resumes and getting 3 responses. So it takes a little bit more time on the front end. I know you guys, your brain is probably exploding right now, okay? It's okay, you'll live. But you'll be so grateful later, and your resume will show it. I'm teaching you guys how to turn into that red person in a sea of blue. Blue resumes don't have numbers. They don't have accomplishment statements. It's a list of job duties. And do I have permission to coach?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear a yes from everybody.
Yes.
Do I have permission to coach?
Yes.
The only reason that we would not want to turn our job duties into accomplishment statements is because we're being lazy. We don't want to think. Okay? So, as your coach, I highly recommend you take some time, start to think about those accomplishments. How can I put numbers to my job duties, what's already on my resume? How can I turn these into accomplishment statements? And if you start to feel overwhelmed, step back. Take a breather, take a break, maybe come back to it tomorrow and pick back up where you left off. I think you guys are going to do a great job. So these on the screen here are the same ones as in your packet. There's some more recommendations, and I've got examples of a bunch of accomplishment statements for you. So you guys you're going to do great with these accomplishment statements. Take a little bit of time on the front end, but you'll be so glad you did on the back end. Okay, I have so many hiring managers that when they read my clients' resumes, they're like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen. I wish every resume was written like this." They love it. They eat it up. Okay, but it's going to take some time on the front end. Okay, moving on. Education and training. Begin with the highest education achieved most recently. Go back only as far as high school diploma if appropriate. So if you have some college, you can drop the high school off there. You don't need to have your high school on your resume. Now there's usually 2 schools of thought. Some people say, well, I prefer if your highest is high school diploma or GED, then drop it off of there. Don't even put it because you don't want to call attention to that. Other people say, well, you need to have some education. You need to show your highest education. I'm more lean toward this side because if you don't have any education on your resume, that might be a yellow flag. Because then hiring manager is going to say, well, did they even finish 3rd grade? What did they finish? So if high school diploma is your highest, then own that, put it on your resume. Okay? But if you even have some college, right, just even one class, then list the college on there, drop the high school off. Okay? Or vocational or technical school or whatever. Include professional training and development activities. If you end up getting a certificate, you go into a certificate program, maybe through WIA, maybe not, and you get a certificate and you list that certificate up here in your highlighted skills, you want to attach it to the certificate program at the bottom of the page. So you want to make sure if you show that you have a particular certificate, you want to mention the school that you got that at under the education. Yes. Okay. If you're currently studying in a particular school, you want to list the school and show that you're currently enrolled. You never want to put it as if you've completed it because you're not telling the truth. So you want to say that you're currently enrolled once you complete it, or you can say expected graduation date. That's okay too. But you don't ever want to put it like you've completed it when you haven't. If you have some college but you didn't complete it, then you just say the college and however many credits you actually did complete, or however many years. All right? Again, you never want to write it as if you completed it. Do you have a question pertaining to the education?
Yeah, I did. Right now, I'm in real estate.
Uh-huh.
And I'm on my last class.
Okay.
And so I recently updated my resume. And so I have the college degree, the college, and I did have my high school, so I'm taking that off. That's going to be, I guess, certificate. It's executive real estate programs. And so I've listed that before my college education because that's my most current, what I'm working on. But should that actually be at the bottom? With
Whichever one's most recent can go first.
So that's fine with that?
Yeah, no problem. Whichever one's most recent. And you don't have to include the years on your education either. If your years are over a certain period of time, then just drop the years off. You don't. But if it's recent, then you absolutely want to put the years. Exactly. Yes.
I'm thinking for both myself and my son.
Mm-hmm.
My son who decided to drop out after only a handful of classes in college.
Okay.
What does one do with that? Just go some college at such and such college?
How many years did he complete?
He didn't complete any years.
How many credits did he complete?
Maybe 12.
Okay, then you might want to say some college or attended such and such program. Yeah. So you don't want to. You want to find the way to notate it in as positive a light as possible. So we can discuss those details later. We got to keep going.
Yeah. When you say recent years, you add that on there, but then you have other, just for the sake of consistency, should you just take years off?
No, for education, it's okay. For education, I understand the value of consistency. You do want consistency on a resume. But if you have all of your older programs are way out of date, but you have one that you really want to highlight, then it's okay to put the date for that one. Great questions. Okay, we got to keep moving. Affiliations and awards, list your professional associations and your community organizations if they're job related only. There are 2 topics that you absolutely don't want to include on your resume. For the most part, the rule is. What are the 2 topics that we do not talk about at the dinner table?
Politics
And
religion.
Politics and religion. Okay? Why do we not want to put those on the resume? Because they're very polarizing. People have strong feelings about politics and religion. And if you put anything on your resume that if it's not even relevant for the job, that could be the one thing that eliminates you. And that's too bad. Okay? I used to have on my resume all the time everything. I was youth ministry leader. I was in praise dancing. I had all this cool stuff involved with my church, and I was proud of it. It had nothing to do with career counseling. But I thought it was really cool, so I had it on there. It was leadership roles. But the very fact that I put it on could have eliminated me from positions because people would be so afraid that I was like a Jesus freak bumping everyone on the head with the Bible, right? I am still a Jesus freak. I admit it, okay? But I don't have to put that on my resume. Does it take away from what I believe in who I am? The fact that it's on my no, I'm still me, but it doesn't need to be on my resume. Okay, unless you're going for like the Democratic National Convention, then by all means go for it. Have at it. You put Democrat all over your resume. Or if you're going for maybe a religious organization, something like that, yeah, go for it. Have at it. But it needs to have purpose. Hang on one second. We're really going over time here. You want to list awards received in paid and unpaid work if they show additional value to your employer. So, actually, let me go back to association. If you, let's say, pop quiz. If I say, if you, how do I want to say this? Can you put president of your children's school PTA bake sale? Can you put that on your resume?
Sure you can.
Okay, I have a yes.
People have different views about PTA.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trick question. The answer is maybe. Depends. Is it relevant to the position you're applying for? Okay. If you're going for an event planner position and you want to show that you planned this event before and this is something that you did that's completely relevant, same skill set, then absolutely go for it. But if you're going for a position that has nothing to do with that, you just think it's cool, then get it off of there. Can you put your kid's t-ball coach on your resume?
If you're going for a leadership position.
If you have purpose for that, exactly. You're going for some sort of leadership role. You want to show that you can work with children or something. If you have purpose for putting that on your resume, then keep it there. So I'm not going to be the one to tell you, take that off your resume. I'll just ask you, why is it on there? If you can show me that you have purpose for that particular thing to be on your resume, then I'm happy. I'm good. Okay? So everything on your resume must have purpose. Remember, all the items on your resume must support your claim that you are the perfect person to hire for the job. Do your affiliations provide more support, or are they just fluff? If it's fluff, get it off of there. No more fluff.
So if I'm a member of a professional organization, like Next Level Purchasing or SupplyManagement.com.
Well, that's the positions you're going for, so of course, it's completely relevant for what you're doing. Tailoring for each position is critical. Just do it. Tailor each job. Every time you apply for a new position, your resume should be somehow changed. Copy and paste keywords from the job description. Highlight keywords describing your skills and relevant qualifications. Now, if they ask for one particular skill but you don't have it, but you have something very similar related, highlight the next best thing. And always alter that professional summary in the highlighted skills section. Final thoughts. Keep editing. Save all the versions. Once you send off your resume, I would save it as like your name, job title, and date. However, this is something that an idea the client gave me, and I loved it. After they send off the resume, they then cut and paste the job description into the bottom of their resume. And then have you ever had an employer call you and you don't remember what the heck that job description said? Yeah. Well, what about if you could go back to your archives in your computer, pull up that resume, and now you can see what the job description was and what your resume said for that job description, for that job that you applied for. Into the bottom of the resume. Now, this is after you've already submitted the resume. Okay? It's a living document. You're going to constantly revise it. And remember, your focus is to be the solution to the organization's problem. There's a reason why they want to fill this position. So you want to make sure, what are they looking for and how am I the perfect fit? Now, I usually get a lot of questions about cover letter. Will you guys give me an extra 5 minutes so I can cover the cover letter? Okay. Right. So while I'm in this folder right now, this is what I'm going to send you. This email that I'm going to send you today is going to be chock full of attachments. Open them and use them. The only reason I didn't print them out is to save paper, but I want you to use these. So I've got 3 accomplishment guides that I think are really helpful to help you write those accomplishments. I've got this PowerPoint that will be included in the email. I've also got some sample cover letters and the resume template. So what I recommend you do is open the resume template. It's the exact same template as Mr. First Last here, and use this. So take out first, last, put your name. Take out all this information. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just take out the information and type in your information. That way you know it's already all set up and it's perfect and you don't have to worry about it. Okay? I've got the margins, the size, the Arial, the whole shebang. All right? Took good care of you. So now I've got some sample cover letters. The first one I want to cover is your typical cover letter. It's a formal letter. This is one that you might use if you were to print it out and sign it and submit with an application. got your name and information at the top, the date, the individual's name and the organization, their job title, whatever organization you're part of, and then you're saying, "Dear Mr. or Ms." You want to address them by name. If you don't have the name of the hiring manager, you might want to put the name of the HR director or the head of the department you're going for. It's easy to find that person through LinkedIn or on their website. But you don't want to have "to whom it may concern." Never, never, never put "to whom it may concern." That's one of those hiring managers, they just hate it because it feels very generic, cold. Yeah, like you didn't even do the basic research to figure out who it is. Unless they've taken every single step so that you don't know, you have no clue who actually submitted the posting, then at least put maybe "Dear hiring manager." First paragraph. State the reason for writing. Name the specific position or type of work that you're applying for, so it's just your entry. If you learned of the opening through employee referral, this is where you name drop. Such and such referred that I would be a great fit for this position. Okay. Second paragraph, explain why you're interested in working for this employer, specify how you're perfect for the position. All of this information is going to supplement what's on your resume. You're not repeating what's on your resume. Thank you. So you might want to show how your background in this area or your interests in this area have really expanded over the last few years, and that's why you're so interested in going into this field or something like that. It's going to supplement. So you can give some more personal background in the second paragraph. Third paragraph is a call to action. Mention that your resume is enclosed, that you're really excited to meet with them. You'd think it'd go without saying you're applying for the position. Of course you're excited. However, you'd be so surprised how many people, when they get into an interview, like have no energy whatsoever and are kind of like, whatever, I'm here. Like they want to see enthusiasm. So mention that you're excited about this position. You think you're a perfect fit and you're so excited to meet with them. At the bottom, you sign, enclosure, resume. It's basic form letter. Okay, that's the first type.
What's the source at the bottom?
The source is Creative Job Search, the website that we got this from. Okay. Here's number two. Before I show that to you. Number two, who's ever heard of a T format cover letter? T table. Oh, this is my favorite. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. Okay. This is the type of format that I used for my cover letter when I applied for this job. So this one, again, at the top, your information's top right this time. It doesn't matter. The formatting and interchanges. So, for example, the first paragraph, let me just show you. So the person's information. I'm responding to your job entitled such and such, reference number such and such. If you have a reference number and you use the first format that I showed you, you can use them interchangeably. Okay. I've included a copy of my resume for your review. Watch this. You'll find that I have extensive experience in skill, and skill. Where are you pulling those 3 skills from? The job description. You can catch their attention fast, right? Below is a comparison of your job requirements and my qualifications. Talk about making it easy peasy. You can make it as easy as possible for them to see the relevant information. So you put a little table in there. Now, applicant tracking systems don't scan cover letters, so you can put a table in the cover letter. Your job requirements, you're pulling these straight from the job description. You want this, and this? I got it. I would welcome the opportunity to discuss your job requirements and my qualifications with you. I'll contact you in a couple days to follow up. Thank you in advance, okay? Now, with this, and then sincerely your name. In this one, if you like, you can make the top of it reflect the same top of your resume. Yeah. And then dear, the same title and name of whatever person you're going for. Dear real person. If you don't know the name of the person, Jerry says, say, hey, greetings. First paragraph, arouse interest. State the title, position you're applying for, how you learned about the position. Second paragraph, create desire. That's the same. And then you just do a smaller table. Your cover letter shouldn't fall into a second page, so you want to keep it tight because you don't want it to fall into a second page. Third paragraph. I didn't introduce this one yet. If you have any issues that you need to address, they want you to have this one skill, you don't have that, but you have something that's very closely related. That's where you could address the issue. However, don't create an issue if it's not there. If they want you to have 6 years, but you only have 5, I just wouldn't mention it. Right. Okay? So don't create any issues if they're not there. Fourth paragraph would be the call to action, just like all the other ones. Is this helpful, you guys? Good. Those accomplishment guides that I'm about to send you. The first one, challenge, action, result, helps you strengthen. It's the exact same description that I used earlier, how to take you from train new employees all the way down to the best bullet. And then I had tons of action verbs. So how did you observe something? How did you discover something? How did you evaluate something? Understand something? Start something? Finish something? Blah, 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 blah. Pages and pages and pages. So that should help you with that. The second one is, again, for recent graduates, but it's also extremely relevant for professionals as well. How to write accomplishment statements. It's really helpful. And it gives you, again, problem, action, result. So how to create a strong accomplishment statement. And then a bunch of sample accomplishment statements. And then finally, the third one that I have for you is, again, before it was your list of duties. After, it's an accomplishment statement. So it can show you how to turn your resume from a list of duties to accomplishment statements. And then I've got tons of verbs again, communication, people skills, creative skills, management skills, data skills, and the list goes on and on and on. That should be really helpful for you, okay? Now, any questions before we wrap up? Thank you guys so much for letting me go over a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Any questions?
I did, but
One question, yes.
On the professional experience, I've got 20 plus years.
Okay.
Now, we don't want to say that, but you've got the years that you worked there.
Right. So if you have, your resume should encompass the most recent 10 to 15 years. If you've got something that's completely relevant and really, really long ago, and you want to keep that on your resume, you need to ask yourself, is the job that I did in that position back then the same work that I would do now? Because that very reason that you want to have it on the resume might actually work against you. If it is completely relevant to what you're doing now, then you might want to split your resume into two parts. You might want to have at the top relevant positions, and then down at the bottom recent positions, so that you can put all of those relevant positions that are completely relevant to your job at the top of the resume, and then the recent positions that are not very relevant to the job at the bottom of the resume. That's how you would split that up. Everyone give yourselves a round of applause. You made it through the resume workshop. Round of applause. Great job. I'm so happy to meet all of you. I was looking forward to getting to know you. Hey, will you do me a favor and fill out the feedback form? I love to get feedback, something that you learned or that you really appreciated about this resume workshop. And then you can just drop it off. Or if you have constructive feedback, you know, that's okay too. Just drop it off on the table in the back. It's okay. We don't like it, but we take it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I appreciate any type of feedback. I love getting better. Just drop off your feedback forms in the back of the table on your way out, and have a great afternoon. If you have any more questions, I'll be around up front to answer them for you.